Welcome to our special live coverage of President Bush's visit to the Lehigh Valley. He is coming here to speak briefly today at Dieruff High School in Allentown on education. He is arriving at ABE Airport even as we speak. We're about to go to ABE and show you pictures of Air Force One arriving here in the Lehigh Valley. The President will be arriving and then making his way over to Dieruff High School, and we'll be bringing you coverage around the noon time to cover his speech at Dieruff. Nancy Bessman is standing by live at ABE Airport. Nancy.
Well, good morning, Rob. The President appears to be perfectly on time. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't look like the weather is going to cooperate with his visit. It just started to rain about 5 minutes ago. Now, Air Force One has just landed. We just saw it land, but it is apparently taxiing around behind the building, and we can't see it just now. It's quite a sight to see it land here. It's a very big airplane for this airport, and there's a number of people here waiting to greet him, people who have been waiting just even across the field, people who are just lined up waiting to see the President, trying to just catch a glimpse of him. Of course, there's a number of dignitaries here, people like Mayor Joe Dodona, Mayor Ken Smith of Bethlehem. There's Dexter Baker of Air Products, we've been told. A number of dignitaries who were ushered out here just moments ago who are going to be greeting the President and talking to him a little bit about his visit and the purpose of his visit here. We're also told, this is something we didn't know about, that he's going to be giving out, the President is going to be giving out an award to the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired of Lehigh County, designating that organization as the 273rd Daily Point of Light. So there's been a number of people here, volunteers from that organization, who are very anxious to see the President and to be awarded by him. We still don't see Air Force One at this point. Perhaps they're going through some kind of a check. We've been searched. We've been searched pretty extensively, all of our gear. There's a number of media organizations here, and we had to get here a couple of hours before this event just to be searched by Secret Service. It's quite unbelievable to see, actually, just how many Secret Service people there are here. There's people from the federal police who are above me on platforms, just taking a look at the runway and taking a look with big binoculars, trying to see if they can see if there's any foul play or anything that's going to go on in the area. If you take a look over my shoulder here, now we can see Air Force One is coming back up the runway. Now we can see it. It's expected that it's going to take a few minutes for the plane to taxi over here, but as I said, there are a number of people who are waiting to greet the President as he steps off the plane and gets ready for his visit to the Lehigh Valley. As I said, we do expect it's going to be a couple of minutes yet.
Nancy, a lot of excitement over there, I'm sure, and I understand that as part of the big security detail, they clear out the air traffic before he comes in and after he leaves as well today.
Yeah, there has been, we haven't seen any type of air traffic, anybody taking off or landing for about the last 45 minutes or so. That's about how long we've been out here setting up, trying to get our shot ready. But there have been people, everything else seems to be going pretty much normal here at the airport. There seems to be, excuse me?
Once the plane comes to a stop, he doesn't have plans, does he, to get out and speak at the airport? Is his plan to go straight to Dieruff?
Actually, he's going to greet, we're told, a few of the dignitaries that I mentioned before here at the airport, a few of the people from the Lehigh County Association for the Blind. But pretty much, and I would imagine mostly because of the weather, he's going to just get off the plane and get right onto his schedule at Dieruff, because he does have a tight schedule here. He's expected to be at Dieruff, I believe, somewhere around noon. So he doesn't have a lot of time to get from here to there and to be able to get things together and to get himself over there. There are some waiting cars right here, a couple of waiting limousines, if you can see them over here off to my left. They're waiting for the President. They're running and ready to go, so I doubt he'll spend too much time here other than to just wave at a few people, maybe shake a few hands, and then get into the limousine and get ready for his ride over to Dieruff. Air Force One, as we mentioned before, is taxiing down the runway right now. We are just having some trouble seeing where it is because of where we're standing, and there's a lot of other media organizations and a big platform in our way, but it is just a few moments away, and you'll be able to get a view at it.
You're in quite a crush of media people, I would imagine. The Valley hasn't seen quite a swarm like this in a long time, huh?
Yeah, we certainly are. There's a good number of people out here with us. I'd say at least 30 or 40 media organizations. They're from some of the national media, as well as obviously lots of local media, but we see a lot of national media out here, folks who travel with the President and with a lot of the presidential candidates, just trying to keep up with their agenda. We also expect that there will be, these are some of the federal police officers I was telling you about earlier, who have been just taking a look at everything. They were out here way before we got out here. And here now is Air Force One.
Picture of Air Force One arriving at ABE Airport. 17 past 11. The president seems to be on schedule. He'll be departing the plane and heading to Dieruff High School for a brief address today before he heads on to Easter weekend up at Kennebunkport, Maine. Air Force One about to roll to a stop at ABE.
And Rob, I don't know if you've ever flown out of ABE, but this is a very big airplane for this airport. This airport usually takes about a 727, and that's about as large as a plane as it will.
Phone lines and fax machines and every bit of advanced planning done before they come into any given area. Air Force One moving on the tarmac at ABE Airport.
Okay, and as I said, we do have a number of people out here who are waiting for the president. We've just been told this is an odd thing, and I'm not sure why. It has just started to rain very hard, and the Secret Service are telling us all to take down our umbrellas. Even the people in the audience who are waiting, I'm not exactly sure why this is. And
you take down your umbrella.
Yeah, we've all had to take down our umbrellas now. Even, as I said, the people who are waiting, the dignitaries, I've seen the mayor take down his umbrella. I'm not sure exactly what that's about, and maybe we can get some more information about that later. The plane is now getting very close to where we are all standing and waiting for the president to arrive.
Undoubtedly some kind of security precaution with the removal of the umbrellas, not just that they would like to have you wet. 20 minutes after 11, and Air Force One is just about ready to pull up and stop and allow the president to get out. And as you said, Nancy, because of the rain, he's undoubtedly not going to be outside for very long at all.
Yeah. And you know, Rob, as I said, I don't know if you've ever flown out of ABE, but it was interesting also this morning to see just how much preparation has gone into this visit of the president. There were literally dozens and dozens of Secret Service all around the airport, and we were out here on Monday on other business, and we did see Secret Service there even then, getting ready and just taking a look at where everything was and making sure the proper security would be in place for today for the president's visit. And as I said, there are just so many people here just coordinating everything. It's really quite fascinating to see how it's all working. The door on Air Force One is opening now, and we see where they're getting ready to hook up a ladder for the president to make his exit.
A familiar scene, of course, that we see on the news almost nightly, the president descending a staircase from Air Force One and waving to the people. It's quite a treat for the Lehigh Valley to have it happening here.
Just a few people who showed up at the airport. The Northampton County District Attorney John Morganelli just came out to try to catch a glimpse of the president because says he's a big supporter of Mr. Bush and just wanted to try to see him. So he's standing out here in the rain as well, hoping to just get a look at the president as he gets off the plane here.
Nancy, besides the dignitaries, are there a lot of local residents who've come there? Is there a place for them to stand?
Well, they're across the field. There's a number of people who are just standing out there. They seem to have dispersed a little bit. As I said, the rain has picked up quite a bit out here, but there's still, I'd say, a good 50 to 100 people who are quite a ways away, just hoping to catch a glimpse. There appear to be some members of the media who travel with the president getting off Air Force One out of one of the back doors at this point, and we just saw a contingency of dignitaries who are going up with umbrellas to greet the president as he gets off the plane. I imagine they'll let the media get off first, and then Mr. Bush will make his exit. As I said, this is all going to be quite a whirlwind for the president. His trip to Dieruff will be about noon, and his plane, he will be leaving from this exact location again just before 1 o'clock. And we see that Congressman Don Ritter is here getting ready to meet the president as well.
I didn't see him go up. He was on Air Force One, I take it, huh?
Yeah.
And And then they'll be ushered over to Dieruff. The kids are over there getting ready now. They've been sprucing up the school. A lot of excitement at Dieruff High School, of course, and I'm sure there he is.
And here he is now.
President Bush arrives at ABE and descends the steps.
Followed by Don Ritter.
And they don't have an umbrella for him as he comes down. Is it, in fact, coming down right now, Nancy?
I'm sorry, Rob. I'm having some trouble hearing you at this point.
Is it raining right now?
It's quite rainy right now, yes. The rain is coming down very hard at this point. He doesn't seem to mind it too much, though.
And, of course, behind Don Ritter, the Secretary of Education, Lamar Alexander, is there as well. If I'm not mistaken. Yes, I think I can see him back there.
I'm sorry, Rob, I couldn't hear you again, but I see you shaking hands now with, just shook hands with Mayor Joe Dodona of Allentown. I see a few people from the Lehigh County Association for the Blind are greeting the president, and he's now getting ready to greet some more people from the Lehigh County Association for the Blind. It looks like he'll be meeting with, those are a couple of volunteers who I talked with earlier inside the airport. Those are some of the people who help out people in the Lehigh County who are visually impaired. The gentleman there with the seeing eye dog is Mr. Jeffrey Brightbill. He is the executive director of the Association for the Blind, and some of those other people are some of the volunteers who will be accepting the award as the president designates Lehigh County's Association for the Blind as one of the daily points of light in the nation. That must be quite a treat for them to be getting that award from the president.
It must be, and all the local officials getting their chance to shine a little bit here and put in a brief word to the president before he heads over to the high school.
Yeah, and it's too bad it's raining so hard because I'm sure they'd like to spend a little more time with him, but it looks like he's going to get into the car rather quickly.
And a wave to the crowd. He enjoys the rain, apparently, and he's off to Dieruff High School, I guess, from this point.
It shouldn't take him long to get there, and as I said, we'll be waiting for him as he comes back here with really within the hour almost to take his trip back. We were told that he came here today from Air Force One, and that's where he'll be heading back to.
Understand within the next 10, 15 minutes or so, he's scheduled to have a private meeting with Lehigh Valley educational leaders before the noontime or thereabouts speech at Dieruff High.
Okay, and now the motorcade is leaving the airport. It probably won't take them too long to get over there. It's not a very long ride, and undoubtedly they have some police escorts who will be taking them over there.
And just like that, we're ready for the next step in the president's visit. Air Force One lands, and you have been allowed, I see, to put your umbrella back up.
Yes, I have, which is good news because, as I said, it's really coming down here now. It's been quite exciting for these people. I see a lot of smiles on their faces, and I'm sure they don't mind that it's raining a little bit, that they got to catch a glimpse of the president, and I'm sure this is a very exciting day for them, as it will continue to be for the people over at Dieruff High School.
Again, you're watching a taped rebroadcast of our coverage today of President Bush's visit to the Lehigh Valley. A motorcade took Mr. Bush directly to Dieruff High School, where he met privately with members of Lehigh Valley 2000. That's a partnership of local business and education leaders working to define the shape of education for the 21st century. About 50 minutes later, an expectant crowd welcomed the president into Dieruff Gymnasium.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Rousing welcome for President Bush at Dieruff High School. He is now here, a few minutes behind schedule, but the excitement has built to a crescendo. Everyone sits now, a lot of American flags waving. The president will speak in just a moment. And they're asking the crowd to rise again just before he comes to speak for a pledge to the flag.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ed Donley. I'm chairman of Lehigh Valley 2000, and I'm very pleased to be able to introduce to you today the U.S. Secretary of Education. Lamar Alexander came here to the Lehigh Valley several months ago and visited South Mountain School, middle school, and he looked at the South Mountain and the other mountains, the other hills surrounding the Lehigh Valley, and he said, "This reminds me of my native Tennessee." We know that he loves Tennessee. We hope that he'll continue to come to visit us here in Pennsylvania and will come to love Pennsylvania equally well. He is leading a great crusade which is going to influence the lives of children yet unborn in this country. I'm very pleased to be able to introduce to you the Secretary of the United States Department of Education, Mr. Lamar Alexander. Thank you.
Mr. President, Ed, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have a very important person to introduce in just a minute, but one thing to say before. It was almost exactly a year ago, April 18th, year ago Saturday, that the President challenged every American community to become an America 2000 community. And almost immediately, noise began to erupt from the Lehigh Valley because people here said, look, what he's talking about is what we're already doing. And Lehigh Valley 2000 has become a model and example for this country in terms of groups working together to try to create the best schools in the world for our children and to fundamentally change the attitudes that we have toward education. America 2000 since that time is often running. The 6 goals have become the nation's goals. The 44 states are involved with the strategy. 700 design teams working on new American schools. We're well on our way toward world-class standards in testing. States are moving to give teachers more flexibility, to give parents more choices, but still the most impressive thing is what, Mr. President, we've seen in Grand Junction, where you went about a year ago when the first, at the first stop of the first state, I think of the time that you were in Maine to help kick off Maine 2000 just like last September. Now there are 70 communities in Maine that are America 2000 communities. And just last Monday in New Jersey, the governor, a Democrat, the Republican leaders of the legislature kicked off New Jersey 2000, and the head of Columbia Teachers College described America 2000 as a triple play. The president sets the direction as he must, the states provide the framework as they must, and the community, the entire community, gets involved in getting the job done. So it's not a 7-second soundbite or even a 100-hour war. It's a 9-year crusade, and it'll go community by community and school by school, but there's no place that I think would be better for the president to have a chance to see an example of an America 2000 community hard at work than Lehigh Valley. It is my privilege to introduce an extremely important person. The senior class president of Dieruff High School, Hilda Reeves. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Alexander. I would like to introduce 6 students from Lehigh Valley. Most of these students are in 4th grade, which makes them members of the class of 2000. They're going to remind us of what America 2000 is all about. These are 6 national education goals for the year 2000. These goals were adopted by the President, the nation's governors, and Lehigh Valley.
Hi, my name is Lindsey, and I go to Redmond School. Goal 1. By the
Good job.
My name is Jacqueline Gonzalez. I go to Sheridan Elementary School, goal number 2. By the year 2000, the high school graduation rate will increase to at least 90%. Hi, my name is Peter Gurra. I'm from Moser School. By the year 2000, American students will leave grades 4, 8, and 12 having demonstrated competency in challenging subject matter including English, mathematics, science, history, and geography. And every school in America will ensure that all students learn to use their minds well so they may be prepared for responsible citizenship, further learning, and productive employment in our modern economy. I'm Audrey Wagner from Unitaris Elementary School. Goal number 4. By the year 2000, U.S. students will be first in the world in science and mathematics achievement. Hi, I'm Amanda Bitesur. I'm from Lehigh Parkway School. Goal number 5. By the year 2000, every adult American will be literate and will possess the knowledge and skills necessary to compete in a global economy and exercise the rights and responsibilities of citizenship.
My name is Cruze and I'm from Cleveland School. Goal number 6. By the year 2000, every school in America will be free of drugs and violence and will offer a disciplined environment conducive to learning.
I understand this is the first time in 40 years that an active president has come to the Lehigh Valley. So from one president to another, it is my pleasure to welcome you, President Bush, to Dieruff High School. And now I would like to invite everyone to join me in welcoming the Education President of the United States, George Bush.
Thank you, Hilda. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Hilda, and thank all of you for the warm welcome. My fellow president, thank you very, very much. And this is a non-political appearance, if there is any such thing in a strange political year. But let me just say this. I am very glad that Hilda is not running for president this year. And thank you for your introduction. And may I congratulate all 6 of these guys that spelled out the 6 educational goals, reminding us of what our national goals are. And I asked one of them if he was nervous. He shook me off, said no. I don't believe him, but he did a first-class job, all of them, every one of them. And may I pay my respects to our very able Secretary of Education, Lamar Alexander, former governor, now challenging this country with America 2000 and doing a superb job for all the American people. And at my side in the United States Congress, caring deeply about education, telling me over and over again about the changes and the wonder that's taking place right here in the Valley. Don Ritter, your congressman. He's doing a first-class job in Washington. May I salute Mayors Dodona and Smith, Mayor of Allentown, the Mayor of Bethlehem, and of course pay my respects to Ed Donley, a driving force behind Lehigh Valley 2000 and co-chair of Pennsylvania 2000. And my respects also to she who led us in the pledge, Ann Snyder, the valedictorian of the class of 1992. Ann, thank you. And our guests who did such a great job with the goals, Mike Meilinger, the principal, and I thank him for calling this special assembly today and getting a lot of you out of class. You ought to be grateful to him. And my special thanks to the parents and the teachers and the staff, and thanks also to all the folks here from Allentown and Easton and Bethlehem, the leading lights of Lehigh Valley. And last but not least, let me say hello to the students of Dieruff High with special thanks to the band. It was first-class music. Thank you all very, very much. And I don't know who's in charge of song.
Secret of their success.
I grew my world record chrysanthemum with Miracle Ride.
With everything in between. At Ludwig and Luigi's, you'll never
I realize the world I thought of as new for you, well, it's history. And but look now at the world you'll soon call your own. At the pace of change that we've come to expect. Each day we see history played out in the headline. Literally, old empires expire. New worlds are born. In the past 6 months alone, 6 months, we've seen the birth of 18 new nations. Who knows how many be by the time you take your big geography final in the few weeks from now. But the challenges we face, the sheer complexity of our world, cannot obscure the basic values that guide this nation. And times change, but truths, fundamental truths endure. And I'm talking about the big issues that shape our world, about the values close to home. Everything I've tried to do and done to preserve and advance three precious legacies. Strong families, good jobs, and a world at peace. These are my goals. They should be all of ours. Securing those legacies has been my mission as president, and it's going to be my mission today and every day as long as I am president of the United States. You know, right now here in Allentown and across America, the number one concern is the economy. And turning this economy around, creating jobs is the mission that matters most. And listen to what people say about the economy. Get beneath the cold statistics. Get down to the real heart of this issue. People want to know whether they can keep the job they've got and whether they're on track for a better one. For their kids, for each one of the students here today, parents have got grander visions, great hopes. Not just a job, a career, work that means more than simply making ends meet, work that gives real meaning to your life. And people have a right to ask, what is government's role in all of this? You know, we can't legislate the American dream, but government can serve as a catalyst for change, clearing away the obstacles to economic growth and the unnecessary costs of doing business, expanding the opportunities for aggressive businesses, for enterprising individuals to create new jobs, training and educating our children, giving you the tools of thought you'll need to compete in this new, exciting world economy. The fate of America's economic future rests on 5 key reforms. Free and fair trade, our ability to break down barriers, open new markets to American goods. Our future rests on legal reform, on ending the explosion of litigation that strains our patience and saps our economy. We suing each other too much. We ought to be helping each other more. On health care reform, opening up access to all Americans, controlling the runaway cost of health care without sacrificing choice and without sacrificing the best quality health care in the entire world. And then on government reform, because only if we reverse a generation of creeping bureaucracy and only if we restore limits to government can we restore public trust. And finally, but the reason I've come here to the Valley today, our future depends on education reform, on our ability to revolutionize, literally reinvent our schools, and to take that revolution beyond the 4 walls of the classroom, transform our attitudes and ideas, the way we think about education. And I wish every adult and every kid could have been with me a few minutes ago as some of the leaders, business and education leaders assembled, civic leaders, to tell me about this exciting change taking place right here in Lehigh Valley. Education, it represents a perfect community of interest between the individual and society, between one generation and the next, between the proud history we must pass on and the path-breaking future we must create. And in terms of America's economic future, education is nothing less than a matter of economic survival. It's just this simple. Better schools mean better jobs. And you've seen the news stories. You've heard the statistics. Anyone who worries about slack productivity or a bad balance of trade ought to be alarmed about the test scores. Millions of students work hard. Millions of dedicated teachers doing their very best, and still in one test after another, America's children score at or near the bottom ranks of international achievement. And we don't need another test to tell us something is wrong with the state of American education. For the sake of every student here today, we've got to shake off any sense of complacency. We get to shake up the status quo. Now, in a sense, I'm preaching to the choir, because here in Lehigh Valley, that's a lesson that you learned long ago, years ago. But you didn't wait for word from Washington, D.C. You didn't stand back and watch another generation of kids get less education than they deserve. This community took a direct interest in what was going on in the classroom. This community came together. This community took action. I took office determined to put the power of the presidency behind change, and more than 2 years ago, we took a strong first step. Working together with the nation's governors, Democrat and Republican alike, we set 6 ambitious goals for the year 2000. Never been done before. Every American child must start school ready to learn. We must raise the high school graduation rate to 90%. We must put in place a system of world-class standards and tests to measure students' progress, and we must be first in the world in math and science. By the year 2000, every American adult must be literate, and every American school must be free of drugs, free from the violence that today too often follows our kids into the classroom. Let me sum up the 6 goals this way. Together, by the year 2000, we must create the best schools in the world for our children. Let me share a story that our secretary, Lamar, told me about a little girl, a fourth grader named Ariane Williams. At the kickoff of for New Orleans 2000, down in Louisiana, she stood up, and here's what she said. These goals are not just the president's goals. They're not just the governor's goals. They are the nation's goals. And that little girl got the message. And so do you here in this valley. Goals define the mission, and they tell us where we want to go, not how to get there. And that's why nearly, as I was reminded at this meeting I told you about, nearly 1 year ago today, I mapped out a strategy I call America 2000, a plan to revolutionize American education. Then I heard the progress that has been made before that even began, to break the mold, and for the sake of our children, put an end to business as usual. 2 days from now, we're going to mark the first anniversary of America 2000. Now, let me share with you today a kind of report card, if you will, on what we've accomplished. In 1 year's time, we've seen America 2000 literally catch fire all across this country. Already, 43 states and more than 1,000 communities, from Grand Junction, Colorado to Lewiston, Maine, have joined the America 2000 crusade. Everywhere, people like you are working to break down the barriers between the classroom and the community, to spark a grassroots revolution, to reinvent, not just rework it, but to literally reinvent the American school. But you know that story because, once again, Lehigh Valley has led the way. I want to share... I want to share with you an old African proverb that's the motto of Minnesota 2000. It takes an entire village to educate one child. And that is what it takes. Because education doesn't just happen in the classroom. It doesn't start at 8:20 each morning and end at 5 or 5 of 3. All of us lead busy lives. But we must never be too busy to read to our kids. And if I might ad-lib something in here, I am very, very proud of Barbara Bush for setting an example about how families ought to stay together and how families ought to read to their kids. Parents ought to read to their kids. And we must never be too busy to teach them right from wrong, to take an interest in the things that they worry about and wonder at, and to listen, really listen to what they say. We owe it to our children and to ourselves to see that we live in communities that care about education, communities where learning can happen. And you've got every right to ask, what can Washington do to help? Well, here's one way we can. Today I want to announce a legislative initiative that I call the Lifetime Education and Training Account, a package of grants and line of credit worth $25,000 to every eligible American to further their education or acquire new job skills to make the most of their abilities. And I've said before, if we want to compete in the 21st century, we've got to become a nation of students. And to do that, we've got to take a new approach to the old nation notions of student aid. Think of the working mother, balancing her responsibility for her family and her job against her own hopes for the future. She'd take one college course at a time, but she doesn't qualify right now for the grant or loan that would help pay tuition. Our Lifetime Education and Training Account would help her get back into the classroom. And here's the message for the students here today and for their parents. Education doesn't end with graduation. Learning has got to be a lifelong pursuit. And I came to Lehigh, to one of the first communities to join the America 2000 crusade, to set the agenda for the second year of America 2000. Our next step forward depends on our success in building a consensus for change around 4 core ideas, 4 ways to build on what we've begun, to transform the federal government into a catalyst for real education reform. And first, if we're serious about reaching our goals, we must set world-class standards in 5 core subjects and establish a series of voluntary American achievement tests to measure our children's progress. Second, we've got to grant states and local school districts relief from federal rules and regulations that limit their ability to improve educational achievement and do nothing to help us meet our national education goals. And parenthetically, I'm told by the leaders I met with today that the governor of this state has granted such regulatory flexibility and regulatory relief to this community effort here. Our teachers and our principals deserve flexibility, freedom to use their frontline experience on what works best in their schools to meet these national goals. Has anyone asked the teachers here today, how can we ask you to teach and then tie your hands? Third, we've got to launch a wide-open effort to create thousands of new American schools, starting with at least one in every congressional district all across the United States. Right here in Lehigh Valley, you're hard at work on your plan to make this community home to its own new American school. I heard the exciting proposals on that today. These break-the-mold schools won't conform to any one blueprint. Some may make a quantum leap forward into tomorrow's technologies. Others might seek to reach the future by restoring older traditions, the discipline and disciplines of an earlier era. And each one of these schools would be a living example of how we can reinvent American education. And all we need now from Congress is the seed money to help people like you translate ideas into action. And fourth, we must create an incentive to improve education by promoting school choice. For far too long, we've shielded our schools from competition, allowed the system a damaging monopoly power over students. Well, just as monopolies are bad for the economy, they're bad for our kids. And every parent should have the power to choose which school is best for his child, public, private, or religious. Look at our colleges. Look at America's colleges. Look at the students. Our university system is the envy of the world. Each year, we make over $20 billion in federal grants and loans directly to students. 1 of every 2 students enrolled in college right now to use at the university of their choice. And no one asks whether they enroll at Penn State or Pennsylvania University or Villanova or Lehigh or Lafayette. It's time we make the same choice available to all parents from the moment their children go to school. And whether it's the public school of your street, on your street, or the one across town, whether it's private, parochial, yeshiva, or Bible school, let parents, not the government, make that choice. And let's be clear, if we deny parents school choice, if we deny that choice, let's recognize who's hurt worst by the status quo. It's not the well-to-do. It's not the rich guy. It's not the upper middle class. It's not any one of us who ever went house hunting with a map of the good school districts. Deny people school choice, and the ones you hurt most are the middle class and lower, and especially the poor. And that's why choice is catching on in some of the hardest hit neighborhoods in this nation. Talk to parents that are spearheading the school choice crusade. People like now famous Polly Williams in Milwaukee. They'll tell you how the lack of choice left them powerless to force change, and how a public school bureaucracy turns students into statistics and parents into pawns. And look at Milwaukee today. Pioneering school choice, giving poor parents control and poor children a sense of pride. And look at the schools closer to home, East Harlem, where teachers put their names on waiting lists to get a chance to teach in a choice school. They can't wait to stand in front of a classroom of children who want to be there, who want to learn. Choice works. And here's why. When our students are a captive audience, our schools have no incentive to improve. And say what you want about reforming our schools, if you're for change, you are for school choice. These 4 ideas are generating interest and enthusiasm among governors and mayors, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservative, among business leaders. Ed Donley right here in the Allentown Lehigh County Chamber of Commerce, to the Fortune 500, among teachers and students and parents and principals, everyone at every level who understands the need for change, and everyone, that is, except the leaders of the United States Congress. At a moment when the consensus for change seems to be reaching critical mass, on Capitol Hill you can watch the last stand of the status quo. Forces there are waging a last-ditch effort to put the brakes on change, to preserve the business-as-usual approach that brought us the present crisis in education. The mindset up on Capitol Hill reminds me of a letter I got the other day from an elementary school student, a little girl named Haruka Abe. I like, she says, when my teacher reads my class some books, because everybody gets sleepy. Well, it reminds me of Capitol Hill and the way they're approaching change. Take a look at the bill that's now winding its way through the Congress. The tired old ideas, tried and failed, that it wants to substitute for the 4 path-breaking ideas I mentioned a moment ago. As part of America 2000, we asked Congress for authority to help develop world-class standards and American achievement tests, tools that would help us measure our students' progress, help families understand where their kids might stand, and assess the return we're getting for our education dollars. And the status quo crowd up there on Capitol Hill said, slow down to testing and standards. I asked Congress for funds for this new American schools. Congress said no. No to even funding 1%, 535 of 50,000 new American schools that this nation needs. They want to funnel more federal dollars into these existing, mandated, business-as-usual state bureaucracies, the very same bureaucracies that put us where we are today. And we asked the Congress for flexibility for teachers, flexibility for principals. And Congress said no. Let's stick to the status quo. And finally, we asked the Congress to fund pilot programs to promote school choice, programs to help poor families in 6 American cities. And Congress said no to school choice. And so today, let me just serve notice on the lobby, on the education lobby and their friends back on Capitol Hill. 1 year ago, I asked you to join with me in a revolution to be part of America 2000. And the time has come to get on board or get out of the way and stay behind. No more business as usual. Congress can drag its feet, but it cannot stop change. And Lehigh Valley is living proof of the words of the great Abraham Lincoln. Revolutions do not go backward. There's a time early in every revolution when the status quo looks steady and strong, and the forces that challenge it weak and without effect. And there's the moment when the forces of change carry the day. The bankruptcy of the status quo stands revealed and the whole hollow house of cards collapses. The revolution in American education is already underway. In Lehigh Valley and in communities all across America, the old ways are being pushed aside. They're being abandoned. New ideas advanced. And this revolution will triumph for the simplest and the strongest of reasons, because American parents want the best for their children. And also because there isn't a single child anywhere in the United States of America who doesn't deserve the best education possible. From our schools to our courts, from our hospitals to the halls of government, from the neighborhoods outside our door to the realities of the New World economy, the need for reform won't wait. The only acceptable response is the American response. We must rekindle a revolution to bring change to the country that's changed the world. And the American people have made their choice. The American people want change. And you here in Lehigh Valley can proudly say, we are out front for fundamental, constructive change. Thank you all for this wonderful day of learning, this warm welcome, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
President Bush wrapping up his speech at Dieruff High School today, staying a good deal longer than the schedule had planned for him to be here, just finishing up a few minutes after 1 o'clock now after entering the gym a little later than planned. He's now giving his greeting to the young people from the local elementary school who read the 6 national education goals. A thrill for them, I'm sure, to have a chat with the president and greeting all the people at Dieruff High School, touting his America 2000 plan and praising the Lehigh Valley for being out ahead on that, saying that he's preaching to the choir, in effect, in the Lehigh Valley, because the valley has already shown progress in taking up these America 2000 goals and even augmenting them and going forward with improving schools here in the valley. President Bush exiting the gymnasium at Dieruff now, undoubtedly a day that will be long remembered by the students and staff at Dieruff and the people of the Lehigh Valley in general. Giving a gesture to the crowd of so long and heading down the hallway now to make his way back to ABE Airport. He'll be getting back on Air Force One. He came in just after 11 o'clock on schedule at that point, and he'll be heading now toward New England and spending an Easter holiday weekend, we are told, at his retreat at Kennebunkport, Maine. The president has made a number of educational points here today. Janet Vassell is with us at the Dieruff High School Gymnasium. Janet, you've been following what he said, a rousing speech and considerably longer and more detailed than we might have expected.
Obviously, a pep talk, a Valentine for the Lehigh Valley, and also announcing a new initiative here in the Allentown area, a new national initiative that's going to get more attention. The president said he was coming here to kick off the second year of his America 2000 educational reform program. He spoke about school choice and how he felt it was the right of parents to choose where their children should go. He also told them that he was sure Congress was obstructing what he wanted to do. As we had said earlier, we expected the president was going to hit on Congress a little bit. He said that they had refused to support him in his New American School program, that the president wants to see in every congressional district in this country what's called a New American School. Some of the schools will be totally dedicated to high tech. Others will be restoring traditional quality education. But he'd like to see them in every congressional district, and the president says Congress is standing in the way of getting the funding to support that. And he went on and on, frankly, about Congress, as he has been during this political period. He also talked about being a nation that has to be concerned about better education because it means better jobs. Getting into that initiative that the president spoke of, he announced it today here in Allentown for the first time to the nation, a lifetime education and training account. He said it would be a new student aid package that he would be introducing. It would mean $25,000 provided in grants and a line of credit for any American who wanted to continue lifetime learning. So certainly that's something that's going to be discussed in the days and weeks that follow, and we'll have to see how Congress reacts to the president's comments that he made here in Allentown today. Great day for the Lehigh Valley, great day for Dieruff, Husky pride, just showing itself so beautifully, and President Bush more than one time saying the Lehigh Valley is on the right track. I don't need to preach to you because you're already way ahead of the pack. I'm Janet Bassel, live at Dieruff High School.